going to get started here with Philadelphia head coach Jim Curtin. Jim will begin with his statement and then we'll go to questions. Jim, whenever you're starting.
Yeah, before we get started, just wanted to send well wishes to Kenny Hanson, former president of the Sons of Ben. Obviously, he was in a pretty serious accident, and want him to know that the whole Union family is thinking of him and wishing a speedy recovery. I had the privilege of meeting Kenny. I actually have mutual friends from the Upper Dublin area, and it puts things in perspective. You know, there's certainly things that are bigger than soccer, and again, we wish him nothing but the best and a speedy recovery. Reflecting back on the Dallas game, probably our strongest 45 minutes. I thought that the first half we really pushed the tempo against a high-powered Dallas team. Again, the message is when we're opening up, really all wanting to be on the ball, our spacing's right, we're nice and compact from front to back, we can be a very difficult team to play against and can play some really exciting and attractive soccer. Disappointed to concede the goal at the end because the guys are taking a lot of pride in not conceding at home. The team defending has still been was very good, I thought, in the game, and it is something that we continue to get better and better at. We have a home game now against a very good Montreal team, and when you talk about Montreal, it starts with Ignacio Piatti and trying to contain him as best you can. Not the kind of guy you can shut down for 90 minutes, but you want to limit his touches as much as possible. So again, a big game. They're all big at this point. We talked about it being a 12-game season with 6 home, 6 away. We took care of business in the first one, but now we have to follow it up with a strong result again against Montreal.
Questions on the board?
When you look at the way this season has progressed, was that last home game against Montreal, was that kind of the low point in some ways as you look back?
I think that's fair. Again, in that half we played pretty well. You know, got up 3 goals and gave up the one to Piatti right before the half, and it was kind of at a time when we did not have a lot of confidence. And when that goal went in, you could almost feel the life go out of the stadium, the life go out of the group, and it was almost like a here we go again. We tried to hang on instead of being proactive and trying to get a 4th goal. We actually did have a chance or 2 to get the 4th goal, if I remember, with Fafa. But that is the past now, and that's 2 points that we dropped, 2 big points, because you see how tight the schedule is. Everybody always has 3 or 4 games a year where you go back and look at it and say, man, we should have took more points there, or there should have been a draw at least. So you can always do that at the end of the year, but that was really, I think it's fair to say that was probably rock bottom, if you could use that analogy. That was a low point for the group, but they stuck together. They've rebounded well. We still have now, an opportunity to get ourselves back in the discussion for the playoffs.
Is there more maybe toughness now in this team, or more confidence than that you've seen over the ensuing years?
I think that toughness is a good word. When you go through hard times together, I think that's when you learn the most about people. I've said that before. Anybody can. Last year, when everything was going well and everything we touched seemed to be a win early on in the year, you can kind of lose focus and you can kind of feel comfortable. In the hard times is when you learn the most about guys. We had no players that were going off in 2s and 3s and talking negatively about the group or pointing fingers or blaming other guys. They really did stick together, and we've fought our way out of it. We still haven't been as consistent as we'd like, and it starts with getting our road performances a little stronger, something we've continued to talk about. But I think going through that time can only make a group stronger for sure, because it could get much lower than it was early on in the year.
Jim, I know it's deadline today, and so don't expect too much. What is the last couple weeks been like? You guys trying to scout potential targets, and then Nico Martinez was in here.
Yeah, it's always busy. There's a ton of players that come through, players that you're looking at, things that get close. They go down to the final minute, and it will tonight too. There could be something that happens for sure, but we'll always be working up to the deadline. And again, the amount of players that come across and the almost trades or different things that come up, it's a very high number. So you try to go through that process as best you can. You have all your analytics, you have all your video review, you have guys in on trial, you take looks and you see what's going to fit. We have set our roster up now in a way that we have big decisions to make this offseason for sure, a lot of options, and then also a lot of contracts that are coming to an end. So sometimes you don't want to rush and make mistakes and kind of compound things. So yeah, we have a lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility going into the next year, and we still have a group that we believe that can get in the playoffs this year. That's my main focus right now is getting this group into the playoffs, because from there we all know anything can happen.
Would you say the Montreal game was a turning point for you guys the first time around?
Yeah, I mean it was a tough game in that we put together 3 good plays in the first half and didn't do enough to hang on. So again, it was a rough night for sure, because it's one that we should have took 3 points in. We only took the 1, and yeah, it was a bit of a turning point. The turning point is getting the first win. I think that's what starts it, with Red Bull, and you start to get confidence again. And you can see in training today, just coming off of the good win against Dallas, that it has a different feel. Guys are all wanting the ball. Reserves are outplaying the starters. It's kind of contagious, So it's a good thing, and we're in a good way right now, especially at home. And it has to start to translate though on the road, because that's where we could win all 5 of our home games and still come up short points-wise this year. That's the way the East is shaking out. So we have to find a way to kind of be tougher on the road.
Let's go to John.
It happens everywhere in global soccer that guys sometimes want to leave and force their way out or don't.
Mhm.
But probably read a little bit of what's been going on, what's happening in Montreal.
Yeah.
When it's a young kid who's an academy product, lived there, even from there for one, I'd have to hear some of the rumors. For you as the head coach, as the former academy guy, who's done so much work with kids of that age, what is the message you get through to them to sort of cool and slow down a little bit?
Yeah, well, so listen, every case is different, and I don't want to speak for the kid in Montreal who is a heck of a player, incredible talent, and all I've heard is speculation of different clubs that are coming for him, and they're not small ones, they're big clubs. So, but yeah, to keep kids grounded is important. To not have too much too soon is obviously important. At the end of the day, though, we all do this to have kids come through, to develop, to get better, to take them as far as you can, and at the right moment, if the moment and timing is right. Yeah, I do want Derek Jones to play for Manchester United. That's the goal. I want Austin Trustin to play in the Premier League. I think that would be amazing. So again, every coach is going to have a different philosophy. Every club is going to have a different philosophy, and the timing of that can be argued by all the different people that have opinions on it. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's to get each player as a head coach to go to the highest level that their game can possibly go to. And that's usually the international level with the national team, and then the biggest clubs that they can move on to. Because the reality is MLS is not the biggest league yet. I think it's going. It sounds crazy, but I think now, the things that you see happening, I do think it someday, maybe even in my lifetime now, it might be one of the biggest. But right now it's not. And then yeah, there are going to be kids that are young that are going to aspire to put the jersey on of the teams that they grew up watching on TV. The Manchester Uniteds, the Man Cities, the Chelseas, these big clubs, Barcelona, Madrid. I'm a Bundesliga guy, so I just named all the other ones. So again, yeah, it's a great problem to have that we're having discussions now of young players in our league frustrated because they're being withheld from going to big clubs in Europe. I think it's great. I think it shows the growth of our league. It shows the growth of our game. And like I said, it's happening a lot faster than I ever could have imagined.
Coach, it looks like Ilsinho has really progressed in his English and feels definitely more confident in the language. How have you seen him kind of develop that over the last year, and how much does that help? I mean, obviously communication on the field and his confidence.
Yeah, communication is critical, and the University of Pennsylvania has done an incredible job. We have a staff that comes twice a week, does English classes with the guys, even the ones that are, want to increase their vocabulary. So Barnetta would do it last year. Fabinho has gone from almost a 0 to doing all his interviews in English. Ilsinho is now was a shy, kind of quiet guy, and it was just really a confidence thing. He understood what was being said, but now to see the growth that he's had to speak and And again, I smile when I see them doing interviews in English on TV. It's a testament to the University of Pennsylvania first and foremost, because how progressive they are with our players. They take them on the field, they talk through the language that is not just the English language, but soccer specific language. The way they teach is in a way that makes the players eager to learn. So the program that they've put together is one that is incredible. It's one that I think is going to really grow. You know, it should grow to the Philadelphia Phillies, you know, that have different, you know, ethnicities. The 76ers now are a really diverse team with maybe a language barrier. Communication in a team for your culture is critical. As a coach, to get quick messages out to the field is invaluable. And the work that they've done has been something that I'm very grateful for. I'm very thankful for, and they're basically a part of our team. You know, they're part of the Philadelphia Union, the staff at the University of Pennsylvania. They do a great job.
Any updates on the injuries?
Injuries, you have Herbert still recovering. He's the only one that was out of training today, and then Blake with the finger. You guys saw that thing's still taped up, so it's not looking likely for Montreal, unfortunately. But Johnny has done a great job in place of Andre. And we have two great young goalkeepers, and hopefully Andre gets back quick, but you have to be smart with it, because you guys saw it, it's not playing goalie, you know, anytime this week, it doesn't look like it.
Jim, when you look at the history of mid-season signings in this league, you have Lodero, you know, who comes in and changes things, but I think the norm is probably more like Cahill or DeVio or even like Tranquillo, where they need an adjustment period. When you're looking at signings for this window, is that something you take into consideration, whether they can contribute for 10 to 12 games down the stretch, or whether it's
it's a tough time. You know, it is a tough time at the end of the season. A lot of times you're getting a European player who is coming off the beach, you know, because they've had their season kind of wind down, or they're just getting ramped up. Doesn't mean the pedigree and the quality can you know, click instantly. It can happen, but I think it's harder, because even when Tranquillo came in, he's a world-class player, but he wasn't quite fit yet, you know. So again, it took him time to get going. The difference for these athletes now, when you're in mid-season, I'd use Yarrow as an example. You know, Josh is just really, he's in like week 2 or 3 of a regular season, whereas our guys they're in week 20 something, you know, 20 some games under their belt, and they're flying. So he's catching up. It's the same thing when a transfer comes in the middle of a season, you know, and it's usually on the tail end of their finishing up a season, you know, just starting preseason. So they're just getting going. Doesn't mean it can't have success like Lodero, who came in and was excellent. He also had some nice pieces around him too in Seattle. That wasn't a garbage team. That was a really good group. So it can happen. It can help. I think it's been sort of, I guess you'd say, a quieter window for the league in terms of the big name players. But I still think there's a lot of pieces that have been added, and you can see the secrets are starting to get out. That there's going to be a big injection of some finances next year as well. So it's going to be you know, some real big decisions that are made this offseason for clubs, and there's going to be better and better players coming in the league. But I do agree that it is a tough time to hit a home run, you know, to have a Lodero type situation, unless you're spending, that's a hefty fee that they paid for him. So those variables weigh into every decision.
Jim, I wonder how kind of table placement factors into all this. I know there's a lot of factors with who you bring in, but last year you guys were in playoff position, and you made a big move to defend that, bringing in Ale. This year you guys are chasing. It seems like it's a little bit quieter on the transfer front. How does that kind of factor into all the variables that go into this summer?
Yeah, different seasons and different players that are available, so there's a million different variables that go on with that. It has been busy in terms of, you know, the amount of players in league that have been, you know, teams basically trying to make space. Is kind of the way it's going right now. We have space, you know, and again, I would say that there hasn't been the right fit, and we don't want to make a mistake and make a judgment for a significant amount of money where it's not right for the Philadelphia Union. So we've been smart, I think, and sometimes the best move is to not make a move, and you know, there's an instance now where something still could happen, you know, from now till the deadline, but at the same time, we believe in the group that we have. They're playing pretty good soccer, and again, it's a league where if we can get a couple wins on the road and continue our home form, we can still get into the playoffs and make some noise.
Jim, Sebastian too was mentioned here on a trading block with DC from the news. Is there any interest at all in bringing him back?
He's a DC player. Again, you hear a million names come across, you know, and again, you know, we'd have to talk about that internally, but that's not something we've discussed at this time.
How would you say have your young players that look so far this season?
Which one specifically? Academy kids that just
All.
came? All? Oh man, we got a lot of them. So I'm gonna go through each one. Jack Elliott, again, I've said it, has been for me the rookie of the year. He's been excellent. So his play has spoken for itself. You know, what's your cutoff for young, age-wise? Because I got to go through a lot of guys then. You know, Derek Jones has had a heck of a start. I think he hit a bit of a tough spot, a little bit of a wall that I've had a good discussion with him the other day about coming in, you know, refreshed, rejuvenated, and he has to, you know, if he goes to Bethlehem to play a game, he has to dominate those 90 minutes. So we talked about that for him. Anthony Fontana is picking it up in practice. You know, Austin Trusty continues to do well, but he just has a lot of players in front of him. So he's a guy that needs these games in USL and needs to, again, leave a mark on them. Young goalkeepers have done well. Keegan's still young. I'd say Yaro's still young. So we have a good group of young players that are contributing. And again, you know, our core of our roster is very strong. We have all the role players and all those pieces in place. And as we look forward, we'll hope our difference makers can continue their form. The Elsinos, the Harrises, and then maybe add one down the stretch and into next season as well.
Jim, when you talk about Jack and the rookie of the year conversation, when you looked at Keegan and Jordan Mars, for example, last year, the optics of a goal scorer versus
tough.
So, I mean, is it the same situation this year? Is there enough quantifiable statistics or data or video or something?
Yeah, and maybe it's partly in my mind. I lost it to Rodrigo Faria, so he scored a bunch of goals, and I was so again, maybe I just always want a voice for the defenders, you know. So Keegan, I think, was deserving as anyone last year. He had an incredible season, but when people start banging in goals, especially when he got hot at the end of the year, that's what stays in people's mind. You wish there were more quantifiable metrics for defenders, even when we have our own metrics that we use to grade out our guys each and every game. And we still tweak. It's almost like a quarterback rating, but for the center back position, for an outside back position, it's a little trickier. It's hard to find things that the rating spits out and it passes the eyeball test. You know what I mean? So we'll have games where Jack is amazing, but he maybe scores a little lower. So we're trying to find metrics that kind of cater to the center back. It's difficult, you know, and it is tough. Like, is it shutouts? You know, how much can you really just give it to one guy in soccer, you know, because there's so many situations that are team oriented. You have corner kicks, you have a million different variables. So it is tough to really get recognition as a defender for awards, because of the fact that if you're winning games 3-0, they're talking about the guys who scored the 3 goals, and no one's talking about the guys who kept the 0. The 0 is just an extra. Usually your name's only talked about if you're getting embarrassed or beat. That's like on the new website where they talk about who got beat the worst this week. That's the only time, you know. It's like offensive linemen too. The only time their names come up is really for negative stuff, holding penalties and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's tough. That's the life of defenders, and that's what we signed up for. At some point in our careers, we probably all wanted to be attackers anyway, so we just got moved back further and further as our careers went along. So it goes both ways, but it is good to see a young center back that is playing at the high level that he is. Is it always going to be tough to beat out? You know, Gressel's the kid now that has a couple goals. You know, maybe Atlanta will sign another $8 million guy and Gressel will go to the bench for Jack or something like that. But, you know, all these things play into it. They're both young kids that are having a great year. And it is my duty, though, as a coach to get the word out for my guy, and Jack has been exceptional.
Anything else here on the floor for Jim? Anything on the phone for Jim? Okay, thanks everybody.
Thank you.